in Istanbul. Donald Trump somehow expected Vladimir Putin to be there, and Zelensky was there in Ankara, talk with Erdogan. But it seems that Russia has decided to send a delegation there to talk, to see what would be the atmosphere of the talks. How do you see the way that Russia is dealing with this sort of pressure? We saw they were just playing a game with Russia. Donald Trump, Zelensky, Europeans. How did you find it?
Oh, nothing interesting there. I mean, it was expected. A Russian message is in the basically the crew which has been sent. Mr. Medinsky, those who don't know, he used to be the culture minister. He was there at the 2022 Istanbul talks when Bojo, on behalf of Biden administration, sabotaged them. But Russians are not idiots. I mean, anybody who comes and begins to spew the BS, essentially, that, yeah, Kremlin is naive. Well, you saw yourself how naive, quote unquote, Kremlin is. And so, yeah, they sent Mr. Medinsky, who obviously will act upon the instructions, but who himself has no qualifications whatsoever to conduct any kind of the serious negotiations. And they sent there two former and current chiefs of the general main, what is called main directorate, used to be the famous GRU. So that explains to you. And Mr. Peskov, speaking to CNN, spokesperson for Kremlin, he answered when they asked, is Putin going to be in any form, shape, so to speak, there? He said, absolutely not. You know what? There is this clown there in Trump administration, not that there are not enough clowns around him, Mr. Gorka. He's a fanatical Russophobe, and he is not really mentally adequate person, utterly incompetent militarily, and but he says that the meeting is imminent. Okay, whatever, Trump, Rubio, whatever. But the point is, it's not United States and NATO which play the game with Russia. It's actually other way around. But you have to understand that the people who spin this, they are journalists. Journalism is not a profession. It's not craft. It doesn't require any serious understanding of things, you know, and as the result, they had this, I only want to put forward this incredible meme. It's not meme, really. From the Airplane, first comedy by Zucker and brothers Zucker and Jim Abrams. Remember the famous thing with the correspondents who ran into those phone booths to report, and the phone booths fall flat? This is exactly what it is. And as I already stated, journalism as profession is completely discredited, as are most people who are participating in it. So the only thing they can do is to sell story. In reality, these crowds which gathered there, they dissipated by now in Ankara, and there's nothing to talk really about. And I repeated ad nauseam. I spoke about this yesterday with Colonel Daniel Davis, and I write about this. Look at the ground. Look at the events on the battlefield, and then make your own conclusions. And we know what is happening on the battlefield. And so, yeah, just right now as we speak, there are evidently 132 missiles and drones, UAVs, including the latest one, which is Banderol, whatever that is, the new thing Russians developed. It's flying towards Kiev and all other cities. So, as you can see, so things are coming down, quote unquote, in Russian way. And the desperation, Trump made this war his. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the way it is, and there's no other way around it. I was one of the few ones who wanted to give him longer period of time, so to speak, to adapt. But evidently, he never got the message. And after his BS about the United States single-handedly winning defeating Hitler and Axis, I don't think Vladimir Putin really that interested to talk to him, you know. So evidently the guy is not in his mind. And you look at that, so now Gorka comes out. His administration is a mess, obviously, and that's what he does. He learned absolutely nothing after his first.
Andrei, when you look at Gorka, Keith Kellogg, these people who are not even close to what Donald Trump, if we assume Donald Trump he really sincerely wants he wanted he what he said during the presidential election.
Mhm.
Do you think that he's somehow using the administration to play the good cop, bad cop, and he does? Do you find this guy that much complicated to do this?
Well, he doesn't have skills. For example, the so-called the book, the Art of the Deals, supposedly. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he wrote it. Many people say that somebody wrote for him, and it's all garbage anyway. So he just basically promotes himself like this, specialist in some kind of deal. He has no toolkit to operate on the geopolitical level seriously. Now, if you remember how he appointed John Mattis, the general. Remember his DOD, Secretary of Defense and all that. So the guy, the only reason, as it turned out later, he appointed him because he was talking tough and looked incredibly beautiful in his uniform. Neither Mattis nor any American general are competent in modern warfare. They are stuck in 1980s, early 1990s in their psychology, and frankly, most of them, they don't have proper military background to even understand things, like Kellogg, for example. But he's a very aggressive, warmongering sore loser because he understands, he doesn't measure to anybody in the level of the brigade commander in Russian armed forces, let alone people who commanded armies or army groups. They would look at him, as I already stated, at the flea. And so goes for Gorka. They sell garbage. They do not understand what modern war is. They do not understand mathematics and do not understand real modeling and data sets which go in. U.S. Army never had the real data sets to start with because it was shaped by Wehrmacht and people who wrote everything for NATO and for the U.S. Army. And so, but Trump, who said his last campaign, 2016, he stated that because he was in the boarding school for boys and he was taught how to march, he knows everything about there is to know about war. Okay, so there you go. I have to throw away my degree, my graduate degree, and 5 years in Naval Academy. Those people who graduate academies of general staff, they have to say, yeah, you know what, Trump knows better than us. We commanded armies in combat, and here's the guy. And I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not just about bad cop or good cop. I don't think he is capable of controlling his own administration. It is all about how good the American general and how much BS it spews to impress Mr. Trump, because Trump has no clue what modern war is, or for that matter, any kind of war. And the guy also insulted 27 million Soviet people's sacrifice, including my grandfather's, by stating this BS. And Vladimir Putin, he hails from Leningrad, which survived the siege. His actually brother died there. And so, I don't think he has any inclinations of speaking seriously on any matter to Donald Trump. And considering the fact that we have now essentially desperation and panic among NATO, the aim was achieved. But then again, you have to understand, the combined West lives in the alternative universe world, which is shaped by the spin. And those minority of people, there's still a large minority who really follow the events and I understand what is going on. They clearly understood what just have happened. They're essentially, not Ukraine. Ukraine decides nothing. The Europe and NATO in general, with the United States, have been set back to the essentially March 2022. And it was stated as straight by Russians that, let's continue from the ground zero, but obviously the critical points remain absolutely the same. It is the addressing the root causes, and then, of course, they're considering the reality on the ground. Simple as that,
Zelensky today said that Crimea is Ukraine. Andrei, when he talks this way, it seems to me that he's so somehow delusional, because if you look at Ukrainian army today, it seems someone that is in coma. And but his brother is saying that he's going to be in the national team and he's going to play in the national team. They don't see, there is no connection between what's going on the battlefield. The reality of today's Ukraine, today's army of Ukraine, and what they're advocating for. It's not just Zelensky, it's all about Europeans as well.
Yeah. I will repeat again, and this one we know, we've been through this before. European political elites are degenerates, practically all of them. We are looking at the degeneracy which have been essentially in progress for last several decades, when you had people who still remember the World War II, and they have been cautious, especially on the German side. You know, they kind of like Helmut Schmidt, they knew what they had to do. You don't have those people. Look at them. You have a teller boy, Macron. You have this Merz guy, scratch Merz, and you will get the, the Wehrmacht and SS officers. It's just like that. I mean, and look at them. Look at Starmer. He's a what? Lonely lawyer. Those people have no clue what they're dealing with. They have no clue about real economy, real warfare. They don't understand Russia. They never did. And as the result, and then of course we have all kinds of the deviances ranging from the sexual to mental to all kinds of things. This is what Europe is today. And I understand many Europeans will say, no, we're not like that. I know. I repeat it non-stop. Don't take, on your account personally, so to speak. I do not try to do the broad brush, painting it over. No, there are still normal people in Europe. And there's a significant minority, but majority of Europeans, they hate Russia. They hate Russians. They covet Russian resources, and they are desperate because the whole system, starting from the, all this Club of Rome and the Treaty of the Steel and Coal, it was about, unifying Europe for the new, actually, when you look at the background of this, returning Europe back to what it was prior to the World War II. And in future, essentially getting into the new crusade against Russians, because Europe actually is poor like a pauper. There are no modern, serious, important resources which it can develop, which is critical for the modern economy, always was, since the time of the industrialization. But at that time, indeed, was, remember, the Treaty of the Coal and Steel. They did understand then that what you need really for the real economy. Today, the only thing they can do is the, financial legerdemain. Yeah, so that is why I laugh when all kinds of the fanboys of Rothschild family say, "Oh, but also City of London has the money." City of London can be flattened within 5 minutes by a couple of Oreshnik, and that will be it. And there will be no radiation or anything. But guess what? That will be it. There will be, but you look at the UK today, you look at them, they are on the way to the third world. So is Germany. It will become poor. It's not the question if, it's the matter of how dynamically it will become poor. Well, it's already in progress. We can see it in the real time, how they are becoming poorer. The only thing they know, those people, are brainwashed idiots like the Grüne, or the Green Movement as a whole, which essentially killed European economy, and the financial guys. You do not have captains of industry anymore. They cannot produce freaking normal tank. They can produce nothing. The only thing what French have is obviously the nuclear deterrent, and what they have obviously is the consortium. Airbus is not just French thing. I mean, they have the headquarters in Toulouse. They have their main assembly lines for the A320 in Toulouse, or whatever, the A321, A320neo, and all that. A380 is integration facility is in Hamburg, I believe, in Germany. You have Spain, you have other people, just participating, making the parts for the wing, for the fuselage, avionics, and things of this nature. So when you look at this, it's European consortium. Remove that. What do they have? Siemens? Oh, gosh, that's funny. Siemens already showed us how to lose the market in Russia. Russians said, screw you. I mean, get the hell out. And guess what? Russians substituted everything with their own. And so that's what happens. They never understood what was going on. And yesterday, Vladimir Putin absolutely stated, we are not accepting anymore, basically saying that we are sorry. No, saying sorry is not getting you back into Russian market. You want to get into Russian market? Pay. So goes if those people like Alternative for Germany, the only normal mainstream party, they call it extremist, but it's not extremist. It's actually normal German conservative, real conservative party, not unlike this, fanatics from CDU or let alone leftists. And they say, yeah, we need to restore immediately, this gas. But even them, they have to understand Russians are not getting you anymore the energy you had before. You're going to be paying the market price. There is no benefit for Russia of having Germany now as a partner. This is like, they don't understand it. And again, I sympathize with AfD. I understand that they try to preserve Germany as a normal state, but I doubt they will succeed because majority of Germans don't want that.
Andrei, how long does it take for Europe? It seems that the case of building their military is so much popular right now among the European leaders. How long does it take for them to build up their military with the current situation they're in right now?
I doubt they can do it. In order for you to build your military, you have to have resources. You have to have cheap energy. I recall last week, granted, it's a Grüne, it's the fanatics of the, for all those Teslas, electric vehicles, and all that alternative energy BS, which is sold to people who never attended physics class. But the point is, when they produce their report on, for example, the cost of average car producing in Germany, for example, in Germany, it was the highest in the world. It is almost 3,000 or something like that dollars. No, more than that. It's by order of magnitude, actually, more than it's somewhere else. And when you look at the cost of electricity, which is critical, of course, for all kinds of the, chemical and, other processes to produce, everything from the, the processing of fuel, let alone metallurgy, which is enormously energy consuming industry. Europe is the top 10, practically all of it, in terms of the kilowatt hour price for businesses. And it's horrendous. So if they think that they can build it, they can build a tank or two, and they will cost the gold, weight in their own weight in gold. Apart from the fact that the quality of the NATO weaponry has been demonstrated, paraded as the basically, expensive junk. It still can kill, make no mistake. I'm not saying that it's utterly ineffective, but its effectiveness is horrendously low. It's just absolutely unacceptable for the modern battlefield. And as the result, and especially considering the complete emasculation of Europe, and Europe has been emasculated, you have the rampant sexual deviancy among men. Cuckolding is just basically part of their culture. We have pedophilia developing there. If you think that these are good armies and you can recruit people to fight real modern war of scale, well, I have a bridge to sell to those people who believe that. So as the result, they will try to whip them up into the fanaticism, which is easy for Europeans. They will hate Russia and they will say, yeah, the resources are there. Go get them. And after that, Europe will cease to exist. Simple as that. So they will not be able to create any kind of the combat-ready force which can fight and win in Eastern Europe. And Russians don't care. Russians don't